many people wonder, how can I leverage all this technology, this online stuff, to be able to really make an impact? And one of the tools that people are very curious about is podcasting. And so today we have a legend in the field of podcasting for the last 20 years. He's been doing stuff that maybe you've been thinking about for a long time but haven't been brave enough to do. And so today we're going to talk with Mark Ronick about why should I even create a podcast, and learn from his journey and see if there's maybe a way that he can even help us in our quest to bring about change in this world. And so, Mark, I want to thank you for agreeing to show up today and share your wisdom.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me. It's been a minute since we sat down. I think we sat down together in the beginning of the year on my podcast, so it's nice to return the favor, and it's always nice sitting down with you and talking to you. I could do this any day of the week with you, so thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm touched, and I, I love the fact that you sincerely convey that you care about people and you care about helping people. And sometimes I wish it was always this way, but sometimes I meet people who are really good at persuasion, but don't seem to have a heart for what it is that they say they want to help you accomplish. So thank you for being one of the real ones.
Thank you for noticing, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think there are a lot of people out there that tell you one thing and sell you on one thing, but then when you get to know them, you learn that maybe that's not quite really what they're going for. And that's not a knock on anybody. That's just some people's style. It's not mine. And yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Connecting with people is by far my number one core value. I can't get enough of it. I love to connect with people, and I love helping people because look, it's a little selfish in some ways. I kind of joke about that with people because a lot of times people like you will come to me and thank me for doing things, for helping people in various ways. And I do it because I get a lot of satisfaction out of it. I love seeing people light up, and I love, especially with podcasting, when I'm helping somebody through their fears of starting a podcast and seeing that moment or maybe series of moments where the light bulbs go off and they are like, okay, I can do this. I know what I'm doing now. That confidence starts to show. That lights me up. And that's why I joke and say it's kind of selfish, because I get so much out of it personally in my heart. I get so much out of that. And that's why I'll continue to do it. It just fills me up.
That's beautiful. Recently, I met a young lady who wanted to learn English better. And so it's been years since I've helped someone study English. I don't know if I had told you before, but I went to Korea, and for a year I taught English as a second language. And then when I came back, when I was in graduate school at Peabody Conservatory, I would tutor people there. And I think when I was at University of Maryland, I may have also helped some people. And so recently, by helping her, I realized, wow, I really enjoy this. This is really satisfying. And this hasn't been a part of my life. So I can really resonate with the heart of someone who likes helping people and serving people. I'm curious, how did this journey begin?
Wow. I'm going to try to give you a more condensed version of how it began. And I would probably start by saying, for a love of talk radio. Growing up, that was a big thing for me. I just enjoyed talk radio so much. And I think so there was that itch for radio. I did dabble in the industry a little bit. I never actually took on an on-air job. I never tried. I was more on, especially right out of college, I was more on the business side. I got into sales and hated it. I just did not like that kind of work. Just didn't light me up. So I got out of it and really thought that radio or talk radio or podcasting was not going to be in the cards for me because, well, there was no podcasting yet at the time. But a few years later, podcasting became a thing, and somebody who I knew, who I used to talk to about fantasy football, the hobby, if you're aware of it. We used to talk about it all the time, and he heard about podcasting before I did, told me about it, and said, we are always talking about it, and we always have great insight and advice about all these different NFL players. Let's do a podcast. And it sounded great to me because of that love of radio. And podcasting gave me the freedom to really do the radio thing, but do it my own way. And that's what I think I loved about it the most. I didn't have to play by the rules of radio. I could play by my own rules, especially, we're talking about 20 years ago. So this was the Wild West. There were no rules. And that's the kind of playing field I love. I love to be able to create my own rules, not have to follow someone else's, and figure things out myself. So over time, I went from creating these shows, and I did, like I said, that sports show. I did a long time, I'll call it a buddy podcast with one of my closest friends. We did that. That was probably some of my biggest success in my podcasting career, was this particular podcast. We did that for a while. And then, of course, now I'm doing a podcast about podcasting. So I went from creating my own shows with friends, and then I went to producing professionally, and even teaching some of the radio pros I used to look up to. I was starting to teach them about podcasting because, everything's different. It's got its own flavor, its own flair, and you can't just take a radio career and insert it into a podcast. It doesn't always translate. Are there advantages? Absolutely. But there were people that still needed it, and it was pretty full circle moment for me. And I think really what solidified podcasting for me, which I learned relatively early on, was it clicked where it was through community. I noticed that it was not just about building an audience, because the audience was so engaged, and where at social media, and still do, but we had at the time the social media, people would reach out just to talk about something that I would talk about on my podcast. I realized I could bring people together and create something bigger than just an audience. And so, that's why ultimately I started my business, Ironic Media, to help others launch shows, grow their shows with actual purpose behind it. And ultimately, I launched this conference that I know we'll talk about, Empowered Podcasting. And because I wanted to create the kind of event that I always wish existed out there, one that focused on empowerment, a sense of belonging, and authenticity.
Okay. All right. So it seems to me, so one of the things that I like about what you just said is, before there was podcasting, there was talk radio. And so you're kind of like connecting the dots history-wise, like this idea of talk radio. Like, I never connected those dots. That wasn't a thing, like it wasn't that I never listened to talk radio, but that wasn't like one of the things that I focused in on. And so it's cool how you say that. I go, oh, I get it now.
Uh-huh.
Like, I get how that approach can fit really well.
Yeah.
Even,
it does.
Okay, so like there are different ways that people use going live. For an example, like we have this podcast today, but there's also a YouTube version of the podcast. And when you do it live, you can look at comments and interact and build discussion. And that's something that I think that you're really good at, is you're very mindful of including people in the art of what it is that you're creating. As you tell me a little bit about the morning experience. I know that you do it on Clubhouse, but I think it was earlier this week I was watching you on YouTube. Tell me a little bit about that experience and where that came from.
Yeah, so I do it on Clubhouse, and yeah, I also stream live on on YouTube as well. And so your question's really what exactly? Just so I.
Yeah. What what inspired that shift? Right.
Yeah. So
yeah, you know,
I yeah. Well, so the podcasting morning chat, which is the name of that show, it really started as you had mentioned, as a daily conversation that I was doing solely on Clubhouse. And for those who don't know about Clubhouse, it's a social media, social audio app. So basically, it's like internet radio, really, where
mm,
you have hosts that open up a quote unquote room, talk about whatever they want to talk about, and people can join them live, sit in the virtual audience. And if they want to participate in the conversation, they just tap a button and they can jump up on the virtual stage and ask their question, contribute to the conversation. But that has grown a lot since I went from the live format only. I kind of recognized that here I am teaching people about podcasting, and I wasn't any longer doing my own podcast. I was doing this live stream thing.
mm.
So I decided to take what we're doing and turn it into a podcast. And so we basically do the live for an hour, and then a couple hours later, we publish it as a podcast as well. And it's really grown into something big. From the beginning, I wanted it to be approachable. 60 minutes every weekday with themes that gave structure, but also left room for open conversation, showing up consistently, creating trust. And over time, people would come for more than information. They wanted to actually come for each other. They started building a bond with each other and
Mm.
with me as well. So it's become a space where creators make actual relationships, friendships, partnerships, hold each other accountable, and feel really supported along the way. And that to me is why it's so powerful. It's a podcast, but it's also a true community where people again feel like they belong.
I love the fact that that characteristic of you, actually caring, right, and caring about the relationships, how we can see that at every step, and even in the kind of offer, the way that you show up, even in a business sense. I'm curious, is that where this conference comes from? Is that an extension of that journey further on?
Oh, 100%. And quite literally, because although I think I've had the bug to start a conference, I don't think I ever believed I would until this community started clamoring for it. So
Ah,
so basically, Clubhouse really was born through the pandemic, right? So a lot of us who still use it today were using it back then, and a couple of years of doing it, once things started opening up again, people wanted to start meeting each other in person. And so they were knocking down my door saying, Mark, let's do something. Let's get everyone together. So it started as really what I think people wanted was just a meetup between, the crew, but it then grew legs of its own, and we decided, look, we're an inclusive community. We want to help others who like-minded like us, and so let's open this up and see if we can really build out this community. And that's why I decided to do a conference, which that that bug that I mentioned a moment ago, that was out of attending some of these conferences in the past, which I've had a blast at them. For the most part, I've enjoyed them thoroughly, but I've also found them to be very challenging for me to find my place
huh.
at these. In other words, I walk into these communities, these conferences, and there's 1,000, 2,000 people there. And a lot of them had been going to these conferences year after year after year. So they had gotten to know each other, built relationships, and it almost felt a little cliquey to me. You know, it almost felt like I was walking into a new high school for the first time, and and I
Wow.
got to find my place, right? And
Yeah.
it's not a knock on the people there or anything. That's just human nature. I think you get to know people and you start to develop relationships, and you see them after a year and you want to sit and chit chat and get to know them. And you're not necessarily keeping your eyes open for other people who may want to join in on the conversation. I totally get that. But that was what inspired me to create something a little different. I am intentionally making this a smaller event than those other events for that reason, so that we can all feel like approachable, and it's a lot easier to bond and connect with people when you don't have so many things going on and so many people chit-chatting and interrupting and all those things. So I wanted to create that space of belonging, and it's been a recurring thing for me in all my life. I mean, I remember even as a kid, you know, and I mentioned a moment ago that like walking into high school, I should have said like walking into elementary school, because that is my story. When I moved from New York to Maryland, it was second grade. My dad had a new business venture that he was following. So we moved to Maryland and I walked into second grade, and I don't necessarily remember the exact moment that happened, but I do distinctly remember feeling very out of place and feeling confused and feeling like, how am I gonna make friends and meet new people? So, and that's carried on in almost every venture that I've joined in on that's already been in existence.
Hmm.
So it's in typical form for me when I am in a situation that I'm not comfortable in, or I'm in a situation that I really admire and respect. I just end up going and wanting to do it myself and starting my own version of it. It's just in my nature to have that desire and to follow through on it in many cases.
Wow. So I love the fact that the theme, I see it. It's almost like this interview was, I see the theme. I see who you are
Yeah.
and I see where you've been and how your personality and your heart connect through everything you're doing and taking us forward. So, in a word, what will I experience differently being at your conference? What will I experience differently than if I went to, one of the other conferences? I know that you value community. I know that you said you're intentionally not making it to be 10,000 people, right?
Right.
So that there's an actual chance for connection. But um, is there a methodology that you use in terms of picking topics, or is there a system that you have us interact in a way that will foster relationships? Like what's I know you have a secret sauce. So what's your secret sauce?
Yeah. Well, my secret sauce is to create an event that I would want to go to, right? That's really what it comes down to. But as far as, what makes it different, what makes it unique, and how do I create that space for people? For one, yes, the intimate atmosphere, the smaller numbers will make it feel different than some of these others. I think also one thing I learned from last year is I followed the other formulas a little too closely, in the sense that, sure, we're doing a full day of presentations. Speakers like yourself will be speaking for 30 minutes on an area of their expertise. And that's great. Like every conference like this should have something like that. But it's not terribly interactive either, with the exception of maybe leaving some time for some questions and answers at the end. So one of the things we did was we added a day. And so Friday will be the first day that we do it, Friday, the September 26th. And it's going to be more of a workshop style than it is a presentation. We've asked those particular speakers to really make these not presentations, but actually incorporate the audience in and make them a part of what you're doing, really help them with that hands-on assistance that a lot of us sometimes need when we're taking on something like this. So that's another area. And I mean, little unique things, although not so little when it comes to my wallet, but little things like we're doing a free lunch on Saturday for all attendees. We'll take a break around noonish, and at the same hotel, they have a restaurant there. We did this last year as well, and we host an entire lunch for everybody, which I have not seen at these podcast conventions before. And that gives people time to sit and break bread together and get to know each other on a little more of a personal level. Or if they have more questions from the morning or the day before, they can sit and ask their questions and get some answers out of it. So I'm just looking for ways to, again, cater to the idea of growing a community and not just getting as many podcasters as we can in the room, because that you can get anywhere. Right. So to me, it's let's add a human element that is so needed these days, the human connection, the human bond. So that's the ultimate goal here, is to create that connection.
Okay. So, and real quickly, how do we sign up for this wonderful experience?
Sure. You just go to empoweredpodcasting.com. And all the links are there. Tickets are available there. You can also book your hotel at a discounted rate through that page. And you can see our full schedule of speakers and what their topics are, et cetera, all at empoweredpodcasting.com.
All right, wonderful. Now, tell me, I'm listening to this interview. I'm excited about the fact that you are someone who really cares about helping people, and that through your love of talk radio, transitioning into podcasting, you found a way to build community, and you found a way to almost be the antithesis to these other experiences that you've had, whether it's going to a new school that was cliquish, or going to conferences that people already have established relationships and have not been as inviting, inclusive. You now are creating an online community through Clubhouse that is inclusive, that gives value faithfully, and now an extension of that, this wonderful empowered podcasting conference. So let's take a step back.
Okay.
Who should have a podcast and why?
Anybody that has a passionate message that they want to share. That's for one. If you have something passionate, if you've gone through an experience that was challenging and you've come out the other side, you could be an excellent podcaster. The thing about podcasting, as I've said over and over again today, it is all about community and connection. And yes, people are going to podcasts to get information and knowledge, to learn things, but they'll keep coming back for more if you add that human touch, if you create that community feel, if you create a sense of belonging. People will come back. And the ways that you can do that is by sharing your message, sharing your story. People want to cheer you on. They want to also feel like you're relatable. And if you've gone through something, I promise you, there are probably thousands of other people out there that have gone through that too, and they are looking to connect with others that share that same story, that same challenge, etc. So that's for one. And then if you have a business, or you are in business and you are really passionate about what you do, I think a podcast about that thing could be very successful as well. So I'm passionate, obviously, about podcasting and connection. So that's what I do almost every single day of the week. I podcast about it, and I was able to build a community because of it. So it's so important for a business because it humanizes your business, right? Because you can now put, as an audience member, as a community member, I can now put a face with a name and a personality with a name, right? We can come up with all sorts of ideas about what a company is and who they are, but we don't really know. And if you can podcast about it, if you can talk about your business, talk about your challenges, then you're personalizing it. And that is one of the hardest things in business to do if you aren't podcasting. Right? Social media, a little bit. Social media for sure. You can kind of create a personality and a brand. But to me, there's something about podcasting that is more intimate, that is more personable, that is more human, because most of the time a podcast is just a conversation. Even if it's a one-way conversation, if it's just a host speaking to their audience, it's still a conversation because of the fact that an audience can connect with you in so many different ways. So yeah, I think that really anybody could, but I see the ones that are most successful, they have a passion about their podcast and the topic that they're talking about.
Okay. So you answered my next question, but I really want to get it as a soundbite almost. Okay, so I'm a social media person. I'm very passionate about social media, and that passion is borne fruit. I have a few followers.
Yes.
But I want to know if someone's listening and they're going, all right, well, David said he got going on TikTok and Instagram. Now, podcasting, the content is a lot longer, it seems. So, is it harder? What makes the extra hours of labor more valuable than the 30 or 60-second sound bites of TikTok and Instagram?
Yeah, well, first, there's a place for everything and everyone, right? There's some times where some people just want to be entertained quickly for 30 seconds or get a quick piece of information that they need to continue working on that project, and they got it from that Instagram reel, and that's totally cool. And it's also, I know that a lot of us think that we are in this society, and there's a lot to say to prove it, but there's a lot of us think that we have short attention spans as a society. And yes, there's a lot of proof of that. But when you look at the numbers of podcasting, the average listener is listening to a podcast around 30 minutes at a time, right? So there is an audience, a long-form content audience out there, and a pretty rabid one for that matter. So I wouldn't, it's just a matter of catering to different audiences, right? Your social media audience may not care if you have a podcast, right? But there will be some people in that audience that will care, and there's a whole other audience that are, like I said, rabid fans of podcasting. So they will be there for you as long as you know how to get yourself in front of them. So I guess, did I answer your question? I just want to make sure.
You did.
Okay.
You did. So now I'm going to be selfish. All right. So I'm feeling pretty good about understanding how to grow an audience or a community on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm getting there on YouTube. And LinkedIn, I haven't spent as much time on, but I think I understand the personalities of these different platforms well enough to navigate them successfully. But I don't have that same level of expertise in podcasting.
Okay.
So I'm looking for you to give me what are my first few steps? And I want one of those steps to be coming to your conference. So what are the first few steps for me to transition to thinking like a successful podcaster and building my podcasting kingdom?
The first thing that comes to mind is find a community, find a group of people that you can lean on. Okay. And that you can find anywhere, whether it's an in-person place like our conference at the end of this month, or on Facebook, where there are lots of different podcast communities available to you, and we've got one there too. But I think it's important to find people that you can connect with, that you feel like you can trust, and then start asking questions. and all the different questions
Mm,
you might have about podcasting, just start asking questions. One of the things I know about this industry and the people in it is how much they want to help other podcasters. Because I think
mm,
we know, look, it's not the easiest thing in the world. I shouldn't say that. It is pretty easy, but there's just a lot to it. And having a community to support you, cheer you on, course correct, it will be invaluable to you. So that's the first thing. Another route you could go is to hire a coach, a consultant, a producer, somebody that knows what they're doing. That's what my business is all about. I do all of the above. I coach podcasters, I consult podcasters, I produce a lot of their podcasts for them as well. So you can find a lot of different resources out there to guide you. But the thing that I encourage is don't ever start a podcast completely alone unless you're just one of those people that you can just dive into something and figure it all out yourself. But if you're like me, it can be really overwhelming really quickly. So I would say find a resource or resources, people that can actually give you some guidance. And then, of course, there's AI, right? You can
mm.
certainly connect. You can go onto a chat GPT and literally ask it the very question you asked me. How do I get started? What's the first things I need to do? And it will, I've tested it many times, and it will give you a lot of great guidance and advice. But again, it's just a matter to me of don't do it alone and find the resources or people that will guide you and enhance your experience.
Wonderful. I was not expecting that answer, and I think it was excellent.
Cool.
Um, if
I'm
someone
curious
asked,
what you were expecting.
I was thinking that uh, actually, you you went you went simple and deeper, right? I thought that you'd
Mm-hmm.
say, well, you need to, get clarity on da da da. Then you need to go, you know. But I like what you said because I think that more than not, most of the clients or students that I've had that have done well, they they take action on what they hear. That's a
Mm-hmm.
big thing, right?
Yeah.
So they value coaching and they also value community. They show up on a regular basis. If we in like Content Creating Academy coaches people on social media, they show up to both meetings every week. They have questions and they take action right away when they learn something new. So the fact that you mentioned community as being such an important part, and that you also produce for people, so you coach people and provide community for them online and in person. And I think, yeah, that's really the most important because there come days when you get frustrated. This week I've had a great week and it's also been a frustrating week. I
Mm-hmm.
expected to be able to focus in on having more conversations and giving more offers, but I ended up having to fix other problems inside the business. But life happens, right?
Yeah.
And having a community of people to bounce, hey, this happened to me this week. How do I get back on track? That seems like that's a lifesaver. And then having a coach who actually has been there, done that, so they have shortcuts. I think I think that right there is the most important thing. Whether you're talking about podcasting or social media, I think, yeah, that's a winning combination. So I
Agreed.
thank you for having a wiser answer than I
Well,
predicted.
I mean, you have a lot of wisdom in what you're sharing too. I think that also going back to my advice about finding people and community, it also delivers accountability, right? Because
Mm,
now I've put it out there to this community that I want to start this podcast. And if you found the right fit for you, those people are start checking in on you, and they're gonna, did you get this done? You didn't? How
mm,
come? How can we help you get it done? Like you have them cheering you on. And to
mm,
me, there's also this level of I almost feel responsible to show up regularly. So what I mean by that is like I could not walk away like tomorrow. If I had a show tomorrow, maybe I wasn't feeling it, I'm not going to cancel it because I know there are people there that are depending on me and this show to get
Mm.
through those challenges that they're facing. And I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I did that. So, it helps keep me committed to what I'm doing by having a community surrounding me.
That's beautiful. So I see the win from both sides,
Yeah.
from you who's providing and from those of us who are learning.
Yeah.
So please remind us again, because I know there might be someone who um, didn't get it. Where do we sign up? When is the event? And what should we? How should we prepare for it?
Yeah, empoweredpodcasting.com. It happens in Charlotte, North Carolina. September 26th is the first day, and we wrap up September 28th after breakfast, after brunch, and everybody has to check out and head home. So that's how you find out more about that. And of course, I'll just say you can find everything that I'm up to if you go to ironicmedia.com, IRONICK media.com, and that'll link to everything, social media, all the things that I have going on, you can find out about there.
I want to ask you one final question.
Sure.
Someone today is listening to us and they're not confident they have what it takes to make a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to them?
Call me. Because you are not alone. And every podcaster, new podcaster that I've ever come across, usually I'd say 9 out of 10 usually don't have the confidence. I don't know if I've told you the story. My longest running client, who's still with me today, she hired me probably 4 years ago. And I remember it was right around Thanksgiving, because I remember that was when she paid me, and being one of my first clients, that was like a big milestone in my head. And she paid me and stopped returning my calls and stopped returning my emails for about 9 months. She just completely ghosted me. She paid me and then ghosted me. And I was persistent, not annoying, but persistent. And by month 9, she finally replied to me and she said, "Mark, I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. I didn't get back to you because I was just too darn scared." And it blew my mind, because I didn't know what to make of it, why she wasn't getting back to me. And I felt really bad about, here I am holding her money that she paid and it's going to waste. But the point of the story is a lot of us fear what we don't know. So that goes back to exactly what I was saying before. Find either someone like me who can talk you through it. I don't mind, and you don't have to hire me. I'm happy to sit down for a free consult with anybody who wants to get some advice. And I'll talk you through it, and I'll show you that there's nothing to be scared of. Yes, there's some work involved in it, but if you're passionate about it and you feel this calling to help others, to spread your message to the world, this is a great place to do it. And you have that confidence already because you have that passion, and it's just a matter of harnessing the passion into that confidence.
Wow. That was a very moving story. I understand what it's like to be afraid.
Me too.
Yeah, and so thank you so much for giving us hope that we can figure it out, and it's better when we figure it out with someone else who knows the way.
Yeah. There's no reason to do any of this kind of thing, whether it's podcasting, a business, whatever it is. There's no reason why you should be doing it by yourself. There's nothing to prove. There's no trophy for starting a podcast by yourself. Go ahead and utilize those people who are willing and interested in helping you too.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. I want to summarize. If you have in your heart a desire, a passion to to share with the world. Like if you are really moved by something, or if you've had an experience that transformed your life and you want to share that transformation with others, consider podcasting. And if you want to learn more about podcasting, I think there's no better way than to connect with Mark, whether it's, as he just said, he's willing to have a conversation with you. That's so beautiful. Not everyone's like that, guys. Uh, and he has a wonderful community that you can be involved with, both on Facebook and on Clubhouse, and wonderful content on YouTube, and a wonderful and empowering conference, pun intended,
Hmm.
here at the end of September. Empoweredpodcasting.com. Is that the right website?
Yep, you got it.
Empoweredpodcasting.com is the place to sign up. I look forward to seeing you there when you come. I don't get to hang out in Charlotte, North Carolina on a regular basis. And so I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to making beautiful relationships there. And I'm looking forward to the insight that will help me be better at serving my online community.
Mm.
Thank you, Mark. Is there anything else that I've forgotten to ask you that you think that I should have asked? Because you're the expert at this.
I think you covered it all, and thank you, David, for having me. It is really joy, and it really always, every time I sit down with you, especially on air, it always just feels like a conversation. It just feels so comfortable and natural. You do this so well. You're an excellent host, and I'm proud to be a guest on this show.
Oh, wow. Thank you. All right.
You're welcome.
Blessings to you, my lovely audience, and I look forward to enjoying some time with you again in the near future. And I'm hoping that I'll see you at the Empowered Podcasting Conference. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you, David.